Okay, welcome back from the break, everyone. I know this, so we all figured out where it is. So it is after the registration desk, there is the break. And again, we can meet some other people from the symposium as well. So we highly encourage everyone to please network, mingle amongst each other. So again, welcome to the paper session 1. Those who have joined us for this session, please fill out this survey. Those who have already filled it out, you don't have to. It's just for our bookkeeping purposes, that who is attending USEC and so on. Right? So our first paper is on demand RFID, improving privacy, security, and user trust in RFID activation through physically intuitive design. And Youngwook? Yes, Youngwook from JPMorganChase and Georgia Institute of Technology is going to talk about it. So please give a warm welcome.
Awesome. Thank you for the introduction. Good morning, everyone. I'm Youngwook. It feels great to be the first presenter of the paper session. I'm excited to present our work on demand RFID on behalf of my team, Tingyu, Yuxi, HyunJoo, Dan, Gregory, and Sauvik. This work was done during my PhD at Georgia Tech before I joined JPMorganChase. Today, I'm going to talk about passive RFID. Passive RFID technology is used for many daily use cases these days, such as like contactless payment or like door access. Passive RFID sensing system requires two parts, an RFID tag and RFID reader. Once an RFID reader transfers the radio frequency signal, the tag circuit is powered and transfer its stored data back to the reader. So basically, a passive RFID tag is always on as long as there is a reader nearby. However, interestingly, this can cause security and privacy vulnerabilities. RFID sensing is imperceptible to humans, so the sensing range is unclear to users, and there's no feedback from the tag. So even when the tag is read, a user may not notice whether the tag is read. Because of such security privacy vulnerabilities, people have started adopting protection methods, such as using a RFID blocking wallet. For example, when a US passport card is issued, which has a RFID chip, it comes with an RFID blocking sleeve, which is designed to prevent unauthorized read. However, Coursera et al. Found that a RFID reader could still read the RFID tag, even though the tag is shielded by a metal sleeve. So that means the protection method users believe it would work could not work as they expect, which would erode users' trust that the tag is only activated when they want. So we are interested in how to design an RFID tag that user can trust is only activated when they want it to be activated. To address the challenge, we designed on-demand RFID, a novel RFID tag that can be activated only when in need. One key technology that we leverage is microfluidics. So for those who may not be familiar with it, microfluidic is a technology of manufacturing miniaturized devices that contain chambers and channels. And it achieves sensing or actuation properties by leveraging fluid mechanics inside a channel. Recently, in HCI and UBCon communities, researchers have started to pay attention to this technology for different types of interaction implementation. To the closest to our work, Sun et al. Implemented microfluidics-enabled RFID tags where water is used to bridge a severed RFID tag antenna to make the tag readable. So basically, when water is inside the microfluidic channel bridges the RFID tag's antenna, it becomes readable. Highly inspired by this, we made on-demand RFID as follows. So this is a general passive RFID tag design. And in the middle, so we embedded a microfluidic channel that connects 3 chambers. and the one on the bottom is filled with water, and we dye it red to amplify the visibility of liquid movement. And you can see there's a cut in the middle of the RFID antenna trace, and by default, the middle chamber is empty and it disconnects the antenna circuit. So when a user wants to use a tag, a user needs to press the bottom chamber to push the liquid, and it connects the disconnected antenna. Then when the reader tries to read the tag, the RFID tag can transfer the data back to the reader. Once a user is no longer using the tag, a user can just release the finger, and the liquid inside the chamber automatically goes back to the original position, which again disconnects the antenna. And in this case, because of the disconnected antenna, when the reader tries to read the data cannot be transferred back to the reader. So in summary, this way, users can easily see antenna's disconnection and connection, and the combination of manual antenna connection and automatic antenna disconnection enables aligning a user intention to use an RFID tag with the text readability. The fabrication of on-demand RFID is as follows. So we use 4-layer structure. Once you laminate those layers, and you can inject the liquid inside the chamber, and then you can seal it with a UV glue. Here's the demo video. So there's a reader on the bottom. And first, when you don't press the button, the RFID tag antenna stays disconnected, and it's not readable. But once you press the button, the liquid is pushed, which breaks the disconnected antenna, and it's readable. And if you stop the button press, the liquid automatically goes back to original position and disconnect the antenna again. So when I saw it's working, I was so excited, so I did several more times. Yes. So exciting. Oh, okay. So after the implementation, we wanted to evaluate if on-demand RFID tag can help improve users' trust in using an RFID tag without sacrificing its usability much. To do so, we evaluate on-demand RFID in 2 aspects, trust and usability. We conducted an in-person and in-lab user study with participants who fall into 2 categories: people who have security privacy concerns about RFID technology or technology for data collection, monitoring, and tracking, and people who have no concerns about RFID technology. And we compared 3 conditions. 1, a non-RFID blocking wallet with a commodity RFID tag. 2, RFID blocking wallet with a commodity RFID tag. And lastly, a non-RFID blocking wallet on on-demand RFID. Our study consists of 2 phases. The first phase is about evaluating usability. So first, we wanted to make sure that participants understand how to perform each condition's tag interactions in practice. So as a replication of use cases, we made a mock-up vault, which is connected to a functioning RFID reader. And we asked participants to try 2 different ways to open the vault. First, take out the tag from the wallet and tap, and then keep the tag inside the wallet and tap. So after their tryout, we asked them to rate the system usability scale scores for each condition and ask follow-up questions to understand their ratings. The second study is about the trust level, especially on whether an authorized reading could happen to each condition's RFID tag when users have no intention to use it. So first, we placed another RFID antenna right next to the participant, but we didn't inform participants about it. Our intention was to replicate kind of surreptitious unauthorized RFID scanning. Later, we informed them the reader was sitting right next to them. Then we asked them to rate a 5-point Likert scale for each condition and ask the follow-up questions. And I'll talk about the detail in the following slide. So in the interest of time, I won't go much in detail. But for the trust level, since trust is a convoluted term, so we specifically asked this question: to what extent do you agree with the following statement? The tag is not readable when you don't intend to use it. For example, like after putting it back to your pocket. From the Freeman test, we found that participants significantly had more trust in the effectiveness of on-demand RFID than the other conditions. And as a post-hoc test, we performed a Wilcoxon-Stein rank test with Born-Ferroni correction, and it also shows that statistically significant differences between on-demand RFID and then the other condition. In particular, compared to an RFID blocking wallet, they express their trust on RFID, on-demand RFID, mainly because of two factors. One, it's only activated when they have intentions to press the button. Second, they could see how and when the RFID antenna is connected and disconnected. On the other hand, participants expressed their confusion on an RFID blocking wallet because they weren't sure about the wireless material and then how the material's protection actually works. On the contrary, participants also expressed their concern about on-demand RFID. Specifically, many participants mentioned the concerns about accidental activation where pressing a wallet from outside could press the on-demand RFID's button without noticing it. So for the usability ratings, while we found the non-RFID blocking wallet has the highest median score and on-demand RFID has the lowest median score, we couldn't find a statistical significance in the differences. So while many participants agree that on-demand RFID requires more effort and attention to use than the others, some participants stated that that could be still practical since it's relatively easy to understand and use, and it has a thin form factor that makes it applicable to various use cases like credit card. Please check our paper for details. As a key takeaway, first, the trust was established by aligning RFID activation and deactivation with a user's intention, and clear visible antenna connection disconnection also helps improve the trust level. That's all for today. Thank you for listening. I'm happy to open the floor for any questions. Thank you.
We have a couple of minutes to ask any questions. Well, it's always difficult to ask the first question, but now that this work has been done and you have gone to the industry, right?
Yeah.
You have lost somebody to the industry. But that said, how do you see that, given the user evaluation, what will be the level of acceptance in terms of the end users for these kind of technologies, plus the evaluation on an industry real-world application?
So you're mostly talking about the user's perception
Yes.
to accept? That's, I think, a really great question. So there are so many factors coming in. So based on the study that we did, so as I briefly mentioned on the slide, so they're already looking at the kind of applicable practical use cases from a form factor. So form factor is definitely one great factor to consider, and there are many more including, for example, maybe some business aspect as well. Definitely, I cannot tell all the everything just on behalf of the consumers, but those are the things that I can think of for the user acceptance.
Great, and congratulations on your graduation. Okay, we have one question, so let's take it.
Hi, I'm Elijah Bauma-Sims from Carnegie Mellon University. I wasn't paying the best attention, so maybe I missed this, but I was curious about what this solution offers over some sort of other traditional electronic type interrupt that might be used, like a switch rather than just, I can sort of imagine some things like this seems more intuitive and usable, but I'm just curious to get your perspective.
That's a great question. I think you're asking about there's electronic components to do so, but why would we want this microfluidic design? So one just clear thing is the form factor. So for example, if you use a mechanical switch for just switch on and off for the RFID activation, so it requires some bulky form factor, which may not be perfectly fit into a car form factor that are using the RFID chip capability. So that's one clear distinction.
Great. Thank you. Let's give another round of applause for the wonderful presentation. And if you have questions, please ask it after. I request the next presenter. Yes, great. So while we are setting it up, the next presentation on user comprehension and comfort with eye tracking and hand tracking permissions in augmented reality. Yeah, Kai Ming from University of Washington will be presenting. Let's give a warm round of applause.
Cool. Oh, all right. Hello, everyone. My name is Kai Ming from University of Washington. Today, it is my great pleasure to share with you our work, user comprehension and comfort with eye tracking and hand tracking permissions in augmented reality. So the idea of augmented reality can be traced back to the 1960s. Over the past few years, we have seen great improvements in AR devices, as major stakeholders like Apple, Meta, and Microsoft all release their own AR devices. And today's AR devices are equipped with a number of advanced sensors to enable key functionalities in the context of augmented reality. And while the idea of eye tracking and hand tracking are not new, their integration into mainstream mobile or AR devices is pretty new, and it presents a very exciting opportunity, but also introduce new privacy threats to end user. So what are some of the utility for having eye tracking and hand tracking AR devices? For example, by combining eye and hand tracking, user can navigate the AR environment with simple eye movement and hand gestures. These input can also create a more immersive and intuitive experience. For example, on the figure on the left side, the system can capture precise hand movement as user is performing a crucial assembly step. Or, with eye tracking and facial tracking, it can make a virtual avatar appears more realistic. In addition, eye tracking data can also help the AR system to optimize rendering based on user gaze, in such to enhance the overall performance and overall power consumption. So, despite all the benefits that eye tracking and hand tracking brings, existing research has highlighted potential privacy concerns with the introduce of these sensors. For example, the eye tracking data can be used to infer a ton of sensitive user attributes. Recent study has shown that with eye tracking, it was able to capture some of the behavior insights from user. For example, given an aisle of product, right, which product is most interesting to user. And in addition, with this biometric data, such as hand tracking, a recent study has shown that it's able to review user identity just by looking at how you perform certain movements. So in this work, we ask these research questions. First, right, given the exciting possibility, but also the privacy concern with eye tracking and hand tracking, what is the current technical landscape in current AR platforms? Second, how do users feel about these platforms' permission flows, and what are their comfort levels? Thirdly, how well do users actually understand the permission details, the capabilities of these sensors, and as well as their privacy risks? And lastly, what are some of the key factors that are affecting user to adopt AR technologies with hand tracking and eye tracking embedded? So for our work, we start with structured brainstorming to generate relative properties with regard to how permission requests or the data granularity or how data is transmitted when user is authorizing this data permission. We evaluate these properties on 3 leading AR platforms, which include Apple's Vision Pro, Meta's Oculus Pro, and Microsoft HoloLens 2. The experiment was conducted in May 2024. We build applications on the AR devices, and we examine the documentations as well as their privacy policy. Third, we designed a survey that simulates users' first exposure to these permission flows on these platforms, also in May 2024. And we, for the sake of this work, we explicitly recruited participants with no prior AR experience in hope to help us objectively compare these 3 platforms and these 3 permission flow to see how well do they communicate to new users. And as millions of users are trying out these new AR goggles for the very first time, it is very crucial to understand how these permission flow appears to first-time users. And lastly, we launched a survey on Prolific and recruit 280 participants from our power analysis. So just a quick overview on the current landscape of eye tracking. So here we have HoloLens, Oculus, and Vision Pro. And for both HoloLens and Oculus, they actually require permissions for the system and applications to access eye tracking data. However, Apple's Vision Pro employs a different and arguably more privacy-preserving approach in the sense that the eye tracking data of user is not available to Apple application or third-party entities. And they do so by implementing some very cool functionality within the ARKit or the underlying SDK, so that even the abstracted eye tracking data will not be available to Apple. And in terms of data transmission, we found that Meta's Oculus is the only platform that collects and contains users' eye tracking data on their company server for some amount of time, and we found that no app can access eye tracking data in the background. For hand tracking, we found that Oculus is the only platform that enables system-level permission, and Vision Pro is the only platform that enabled app-level permission. Similarly, we found that Oculus is the only platform collect and retain user hand tracking data, and HoloLens here actually support background access for application on users' hand tracking data. So, inspired by all the differences we saw on these platforms, we want to design the survey to simulate the user's actual permission granting process with the screenshots and the dialogues we take to simulate the experience. Participants were randomly selected to a particular headset and randomize the order of eye tracking or hand tracking permission flow. Then they completed a 5-point scale to answer questions to gauge how informed they feel or how comfortable they feel, followed by true-false questions to test their understanding of the system capability. Finally, we ask, what are some of the decision factors that would help them to feel more comfortable adopting these new technologies in the future. For this talk, I selected a few representative response on the user response. Feel free to check our paper for further information. Okay, so for perception, we found that users feel more informed about eye tracking than hand tracking. And this is true for both Oculus and HoloLens. For Vision Pro, we found no significant differences. We also found users feel more comfortable using Oculus with both eye tracking and hand tracking. And users actually feel, not informed about Vision Pro's data usage and clarity. I'm sorry about the typo here. And for the comprehension, we found that first of all, user had a pretty good comprehension for the core utility of eye tracking and hand tracking, despite this is their first time exposing to the platform. We actually found 100% of our participants answered correctly for hand tracking core utility on Oculus. And we found that users a lot of times are uninformed about that their data will be uploaded to system server, with less than 25% of participants correctly identify this data transmission model. And we found the overestimation of how the system could access their raw data, despite the effort all platforms taken on preserving users' raw either eye tracking or hand tracking data. Lastly, we looked at the factors that could influence future adoption. We found that users prefer knowing who will have access to to this data and how this data will be transmitted. And if you just look at the two graphs, it appears pretty similar across these factors. And we hope these kind of preferences could also apply to future emerging sensors like EMG on AR devices. Okay, lastly, based on our findings, we have a few recommendations for each AR platform. For Oculus, we recommend opting out for eye and hand tracking data so that user can control whether they want to share the data or not. For Oculus and HoloLens, we argue to have stronger protection over eye tracking data because now these platforms are giving access to the abstracted gaze data, but study has shown even that contain privacy risks. So one of the ways is to argue for a stronger privacy guarantee. However, we found that while Vision Pro adopts stronger privacy preserving technique, people fail to understand their implications. So we feel like Apple can use this opportunity to clearly explain their deployed protection to enhance user comfort. So to summarize, we investigate eye tracking and hand tracking models for Apple Vision Pro, HoloLens, and Meta's Quest Pro. Contact a survey for 280 participants to understand their perception, comprehension, and decision factor. And we have shared all our findings with industry to help improve future permission design. Thank you, and I am happy to take any questions.
Questions? Okay, yes, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Akira from the Tohoku University. So, about the search about the permission and the data access, you focus on the standalone type devices, but we have some PC connected type VR devices. So, how about that? You already searched that?
Yeah. So to repeat the question to make sure I understand correctly, there are other type of AR devices like PC connected or some of the optical pass-through devices. That's an excellent question and something that we are looking in future studies. I think we specifically look at AR glasses in the sense that people can wear them in an outside environment because that's how we envision how AR technology would be, right? It's everyday wear, people wear it and walk around and facilitate their daily activity. And that's where eye tracking data get interesting because it's revealing your interest level to this world, right? Like what I am currently seeing and the interest level it's sharing. So we specifically focus on those devices where you can wear them and walk around, if that makes sense.
Great. While we think about the last question, I have one. So it's great that you have shared the findings with the industry. So could we ask, what has been the response?
Yes. So, these industries have, for example, Reality Lab at Meta have 7,000, 8,000 people, and we share our finding with the contact, and they're interested in reading our work. It's a little bit unclear, given it's kind of like a black box to us, but. All I know is there are people inside that are interested in our work and has raised or reported findings to the leadership at the company.
Great. Any questions? I'm sure we might ask questions later on, but thank you again. It's an amazing work, so let's give one round of applause again. I request the next presenter to be at the podium, please. Okay, while we are setting that up, the next paper is on evaluating LLMs towards automated assessment of privacy policy understanding. Kika? Yes, Kika from Deloitte Tohomatsu Cyber LLC as well as Waseda University is going to talk about that. So let's give a warm round of applause.
Hello, I'm Keika Mori from Deloitte Tohomatsu Cyber in Japan. It is my pleasure to have a presentation about evaluating LLMs toward automated assessment of privacy policy understandability. Here is the agenda. Companies handling personal data are required to disclose their data processing practices under various laws. To meet the requirement, companies publish privacy policies. Especially GDPR mandates that companies publish the information in a clear and understandable manner. Similarly, Japanese law requires that the purpose of usage be stated specifically enough for users to reasonably anticipate how their data will be used. To create an easy-to-understand privacy policy, it is necessary to evaluate whether the draft is clear enough from the user's perspective at the time of drafting and to revise any unclear section accordingly. However, conventional methods such as interviews and surveys require time and financial cost for recruiting participants. Under such situation, the final goal of this study is to automatically evaluate the understandability of privacy policy for users. To achieve this, we measure the comprehension level of both LLMs and users regarding the description in privacy policies. By identifying the similarity and differences in privacy policy comprehension, we addressed two research questions. One is to what extent do LLMs understand privacy policy? The other is what gaps lie between LLMs users in their understanding of privacy policy. Then I'll explain the methodology. First, we created 5 of our own privacy policies. One is baseline, and in the other policies, we intentionally applied some factors to make our privacy policy difficult to understand. We also created 7 questions regarding the content of the privacy policy. Using the privacy policy and the questions, we evaluated the comprehension level of LLMs and users. We asked the question and calculated the correct answer rate. We think of the rate as the comprehension level. As for LLM, we use 3 latest models from OpenAI, Google, and Anthropic. We adopted zero-shot prompting in order to align the experimental condition with the user study. We inputted 1 privacy policy and 1 question at one time, and we repeated 10 times for each. Regarding users' understanding, we conducted user study. We used Lancers, which is a crowdsourcing service operated in Japanese. We recruited 100 participants for each privacy policy. All participants were compensated with 400 Japanese yen because the task was expected to take 20 minutes to complete. In the user study, we showed 1 privacy policy and asked 7 questions for each participant. I'll show you the result. Research question 1 was to what extent do LLMs understand privacy policies? This graph shows the average correct answer rate of LLMs and users for each privacy policy. Our privacy policies included various types of difficult points to understand. Privacy policy A, PPA, was baseline and didn't include any. PPB included writing-related difficult points such as double negative and many words in a sentence. PPC, D, and E included difficult points specific to privacy policies, such as abstract expression, related information divided into multiple sections, technical terms, and so on. Overall, the comprehension level of LLMs tended to be higher than that of users. And the LLM's comprehension wasn't affected by writing-related points, but it was affected by privacy policy-specific difficult points. I'll show you the details. From here, I'll focus on only GPT, which has the highest percentage of correct answers. These results are the correct answer rate for questions corresponding to the description, including abstract expression and technical terms. We defined that an understanding was achieved when the correct answer rate exceeded 50%. Abstract expression reduced the understanding both GPT and users, except for question 2 of PPC. Regarding question 2 of PPC, we manually checked the users' answers and found that users overlooked information regardless of abstract expression. That's why the correct answer rate of this question was low. In privacy policy C, we used an abstract expression to provide the basic function of the service. And at the beginning of the survey, or prompt, we explained that this privacy policy is for a step tracker app. So we assumed that the step count estimation would be included in the basic function. In the question, we asked LLMs and users to select all options that are correct for the information items to be collected along with their purposes. The correct answer rate for the option A, which was described in privacy policy without abstract expression, was high for both GPT and users, while the rate for the option C, which was described in privacy policy with an abstract expression, was low for both. Regarding technical terms, it only reduced the understanding of the users and didn't reduce the understanding of GPT. In privacy policy C, we used a technical term, ISO 27001, to explain security measures the company took, while we used the phrase international certification by an external organization for international security management system in other policies. In the question, we asked LLMs and users to select all options that are correct for security measures taken by the company. The correct answer rate for the option A, which was described in privacy policy without technical term, was high for both GPT and users, while the rate for the option B, which was described in privacy policy with the technical term, was low for users, but high for GPT, as GPT has knowledge about the world. We identified the similarity and differences among LLMs and users through the analysis. Regarding similarities, there is a possibility that we detect the difficult description by conducting comprehension tests for LLMs. However, regarding the differences, like the effect of technical terms and user-caused factors like carelessness, our method isn't enough. To bridge the gap between LLMs and users, additional effort, such as building a classifier of technical terms or adding persona to LLMs, are required to enable LLMs to simulate users' understanding. After achieving this, automated evaluation of privacy policy understandability will be possible. To apply the method to real-world context, we conducted a case study. We used the information on Google Play, developer register privacy policy link and labels showing how they handle user data in data safety section. We used the information on the section as ground truth data and created options. We inputted the privacy policy text and question and options and checked if LLM answered correctly. As a result, we found two new factors hindering GPT's understanding. One was tabular format. By converting the tabular format into plain text, the information became unclear. The other is references to other pages. By indicating a different page URL, detailed information was omitted from the main page. Finally, in conclusion, toward automated assessment of privacy policy understandability, we identified the similarity and differences in comprehension between LLMs and users. We conducted a case study and found new factors hindering LLMs' understanding. By bridging the gap between LLMs and users based on our findings, it will be possible to automatically evaluate privacy policy understandability. Thank you for listening.
For the questions? Yes.
Hi, I am Renaissance, a PhD student at UC Irvine. So I was curious, when the human users are answering the question, did they have access to the privacy policy information? Because otherwise it might be that humans forgot what they read in the privacy policy, while the machine will memorize it, and it will be easier for the machine.
Could you Please say that again.
Yeah, so when users are answering the questions, are they able to read the privacy policy at the time they are answering?
Yes, they can read. They can read the privacy policy when answering the question.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Yes, we will. I'll probably just have time for one more questions, but if there are more, I definitely encourage people to reach out to the authors offline.
Thank you very much your presentations. My name is Kosei Sagat from Hitachi Ltd. So I have a question about what kind of technique do you use? So which one? A fine tuning or log-based technology? That is a one question.
I didn't use any such technologies. I just input our prompt via API.
Oh, okay, thank you. So if you use the evaluate the correctness of the methodology, so what kinds of technique do you use? How do you evaluate the correctness?
Correctness of method?
Of the answer.
Answer.
Yeah.
The question was multiple section question. So like this, we prepare the question and options. We define which is correct answer or which is wrong answer. And we calculate how a percentage of users or percentage of trial.
Okay, so before evaluating the answers, you give the correctness to the LLM, right?
I didn't. Pardon?
Okay, so so before evaluating the result, so you give or you survey the correct data. So also you have correct data before evaluating, right?
Yeah, actually we created the data. We created privacy policy, and based on the content, we created a question. So we created the how can I say correct?
Okay.
We created the correct data and wrong. How can I say?
Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Yeah, so if I understood correctly, it was tagged by the researchers of the. Okay,
yes.
Great. Thank you again. It's interesting to see who would win in versus LLM versus the human coding. So thank you again for the wonderful presentation. Yeah, I would request the next presenter to be here. And those who are joining us for the middle of the sessions, please answer the survey so that we can know who attended the sessions, and that would really be helpful. Okay, so our next presentation is what makes phishing simulation campaigns unacceptable, a Vinet experiment, and our presenter. Okay, yes. No worries.
I'm not the presenter. Okay.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, the presenters had an unavoidable delay. It's only just arrived.
Okay.
So is it possible to
The last. Yes, of course. So thank you. Of course. So we have a request. So so we are changing a little bit. The next presentation will be victim-centered abuse investigations and defenses for social media platforms. Is that okay? Yeah. Yes. And Zayed? Yes. So Zayed from Florida International University and Zazan University has stepped up to shift a little bit. So we will have the next presentation as the last one, and then we will have this presentation, which is on victim-centered abuse investigations and defenses for social media platforms. Let's give a round of applause.
I need to switch it from here.
again, while we set this up, this might be a, oh, we got it. Thanks.
I can start? Okay. Thank you for the introduction. Hello, everyone. My name is Zaid from Florida International University. Today, I will be presenting our work on victim-centered abuse investigation and defenses for social media platform. Social media platforms are central to modern communication, but they also enable different types of abuse. This includes blackmail and sextortion, where victims are threatened to share private or sensitive content, doxing, the public sharing of private information, hate speech targeting specific groups, and direct threats of harms and persistent harassment that create a hostile environment. Social media facilitate and amplify abuse because abuser can reach large audience with minimal effort. There's something wrong with HTML.
Try with this.
I tried with this, not working.
It's working.
But not working.
Okay.
It works from here. Okay. So social media facilitate and amplify abuse because abuser can reach large audience with minimal effort. Features such as anonymity and the ability to create multiple civil accounts make it easy for abuser to avoid accountability. A recent study from Bayer Research found that around 40% of US adults have encountered abuse in social media, with half of them facing severe abuse. At the same time, around 80% of users believe platforms do a poor job handling abuse. So our study focused on understanding the impact of online abuse on young and educated users. We examine which social media platforms are most used and how users perceive platform support and defenses. And the goal of our study is to design a better defenses to mitigate abuse. To achieve our goal, we investigate 3 key research questions. First, what type of abuse do users experience and where? And how do victims respond to these abusive incidents? And what platform intervention do victims prefer to combat abuse? We used a mixed method approach. Our quantitative survey included 230 students from different backgrounds. Also, in the survey, we asked participants to select the impact for each abuse they had experienced, and they can select from 1 to 5, whereas 1 means no impact and 5 is very affected and is still feeling it. And our qualitative interview focused on 15 respondents who had experienced high-impact abuse from 3 to 5. This approach helped us to gain deeper insight into abuse experience, coping mechanisms, and desired platform intervention. Now we dive into the findings. Instagram was the most popular platform among our participants, and we find significant relationship exists between gender and the social platform preferences. For example, men preferred X, previously Twitter, Reddit, and Discord more comparing with the women. But interestingly, Discord had the highest rate of abuse reports with over 80% of its users experiencing abuse. And this is actually highlight the discrepancy between platform popularity and risk exposure. A majority of our respondents experienced abuse multiple times. Abusive message, harassment, and hate speech were the most common reported abuse types. However, doxing, abusive messages, and hate speech were identified as having the most severe impact. Also, 43 incidents receiving high impact score of 4 or 5. Here is a real case, real cases of abuse from our interview. One participant experienced extortion, where a unknown individual sent unwanted sexual images and demanded photos and Bitcoin payments under threat of exposure. Another participant was stalked and threatened across multiple platforms, including WhatsApp, Snapchat, and Instagram. And these cases show how serious and complex online abuse can be. Online abuse has lasting effect. Many victims reported anxiety, social withdrawal, trust issue. For example, one victim said, "This experience is stuck in my memory. I keep thinking about it, and it has affected my health." Here, we ask participants about their defenses, and we find that blocking and reporting were the most common defenses mechanisms. Also, chi-square test reveals a statistically significant correlation between gender and the choice of defenses. For example, we find that higher percentage of women prefer report and unfollow abusers, while men prefer blocking. However, our study found that high-impact victims are more likely to use these tools, blocking and reporting, than those experiencing low-impact abuse. Then we asked participants what platform should do. The majority suggest banning abusers. However, there is no significant correlation between gender and the choice of recommendation. But our study found that high-impact victims wanted abusive content be removed, while low-impact victims preferred labeling abuse instead of deleting it. And this is indicate differing preferences based on the severity of abuse experience. Despite the availability of reporting tools, many victims avoid reporting abuse, and common reasons include frustration with inefficient reporting process, lack of response from the platform, as noted by participant 2. They said they would look into it, but I didn't hear anything further. Another reason, fear of escalation or even being banned themselves. Victims want platform to take abuse reports seriously, as noted by participant 3. The social media operators often act defensively or dismiss reports, leaving victims feeling unsupported. To improve reporting, platform need to first support victims and instead of ignoring them, respond faster and be more transparent. Our study reveals the need for tools to capture and store evidence. The defenses need to go beyond suspension. This includes alternative responses to abuse and abusers. We also need to prevent the abuse of the abuse reporting system by providing protection against false reports and denial of service attack. And finally, the defenses need to be scalable. The solution should not exhaust platform resources. So we proposed abuse response and intervention system, and it has the component that we have seen earlier. We include crowdsourcing verification component to the process, where qualified system users are selected to validate abuse reported in the system, which make the solution more scalable. We need also other component, abuse certification, which gives victims official proof of verified abuse. Now let's see how the abuse report process flow through the system. Step 1, the victims collect proof by taking abuse snapshot, which is stored in the system. Step 2, the victims submit abuse report and pay refundable fee to prevent false reports. Step 3, the system check the report using crowdsourced verification, where trusted reviewers confirm if abuse happened. Step 4, if abuse is verified, the abuser is notified and penalized either by fines or restrictions. Step 5, to ensure the system work, step 5, the collected fee is used to fund the abuse verification process. Step 6, the collected fee is used to fund the abuse verification process. Step 6, the abuse reporting system finalizes the case and issue a certificate of verified abuse. And finally, the victims get their feedback. This system ensures stronger protection for victims while making sure abusers are held accountable in a fair and in conclusion, in summary, social platform abuser is widespread and has significant psychological consequences. Current defenses are not enough. Platform must improve. Our ARI provides a clear, fair way to report and verify abuse. We hope this research helps platform design better solution for victims. Thank you for your time, and I'm happy to answer your questions.
Thank you so much. I understand it's a very sensitive topic, and if anyone in the room has faced an online abuse, really sorry about that. And if you feel uncomfortable, feel free to take a break and come back again. Any questions? Yes.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Vinny. I'm a third-year PhD student in Georgia Tech. I have two questions. The first one, on your slide 16, you had, I think you have that here, yeah, what you are proposing for how to handle abuse. My question is, did you discuss with the social media companies to know what they are currently doing? And then my second question, did you evaluate like how, I don't know, how fast the current system of the social media as well? Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for the question. It's a good question. First one that you said, like if we evaluate, we only propose the defense system, and we will do evaluation in the future work. And for the, I forgot the first question. Can you repeat?
The first one was, now you are proposing something. Did you take a look at what is currently happening? Like, do you have a diagram of how companies are actually handling abuse?
Yes, yes. Actually, we, as I said, we conducted a study with the participant, and we studied their experience with abusing reports and how they did that, and the issue they are facing when they are do the reporting. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, thank you so much. Yes, sorry, we are trying to figure out the other presentation, but I think I have one question on the crowd surfing verification. Do you think there will be concerns by the victims to share their data or anything what they have faced with, even though they are verified, but they are still not known by the victim, right? So in this system?
Actually, this is a good question. When we send the abuse reports to the verifier, we send them anonymously. So they only make the decision if there is abuse or not.
Okay, great. Thank you again. I know there are probably tons of other questions. Please reach out to the author offline. And again, we have reception time. Please ask more questions. I request the next presenter to be at the podium. And just so you know what's going on, to be transparent about things, there have been a flight delay and everything, so that's why the third presentation went up till the last one. So hopefully that helps, but for this session. Okay, let's give a warm round of applause for the presenter again. Okay, so our next presentation is, can a cybersecurity question answering assistant help change user behavior? It's an in-situ study. So Leah from Carnegie Mellon University will be giving the talk. So let's give a round. I make a lot of claps. I know it's tiring sometimes, but let's encourage the authors, yes.
Hello, my name is Leah Dusterwald, and today I'm going to be talking about our research looking at question answering, specifically in the context of cybersecurity-related questions. So humans are often the weakest link in addressing cybersecurity breaches, with a large majority, over 90% of security breaches occurring as a result of some kind of human error or some kind of action that a human user took which led them to be at risk to these breaches. And in the past, when users have had questions about what security actions they should take or about specific security concerns they may be facing, they've often turned to search engines such as Google or online forums such as Reddit to ask these questions and get answers. But more and more with the rise of chatbots such as ChatGPT, users are turning to these chatbots as a way to ask their questions and ask also specific questions about cybersecurity concerns they may have. For example, a user might ask, should I store my online passwords? And when we looked at the answers that chatbots provide to security-related questions, in our research, we defined 5 key dimensions of effectiveness of answers, those being accuracy, relevance, understandability, actionability, and motivating power. And all 5 of these metrics are really critical in order for an answer to be truly effective so that a user is able to and actually does take action to help protect themselves. For example, if we consider the above question, should I store my online passwords? An answer that a chatbot might provide would be something along the lines of, yes, there are certain reputable password managers that exist where you can store your passwords to help you remember them, but it might be risky to just store your passwords in a file or just a text file on your computer. And while this answer is accurate and it's relevant, it doesn't necessarily highlight the risks of just storing your passwords, especially financial ones, in a file on your computer. And thus, the user might not be motivated enough to take the time to set up a password manager, and thus they will still be at risk. And that's something that we do see with chatbot answers now, is that they often struggle with really motivating users to take the advice that they provide, even when they are able to provide accurate answers to security-related questions. And the importance of motivating users is further highlighted by the fact that cybersecurity is often a secondary task. So cybersecurity questions will arise as users are going about their primary tasks, such as filing a report for their job. And unless they're really motivated to take action, they're not going to take the time to stop what they're doing, stop their primary task, and take these specific actions. So as of now, there is a need for more effective cybersecurity assistance that can really motivate users to follow the advice that they provide and change their behaviors. And to that end, in this research, we introduced a security QA assistant, which employs prompt engineering based on the protection motivation theory. The protection motivation theory, or PMT, studies how people are motivated to protect themselves from threats. And the exact prompt that we used is shown on the right. We found this was the most effective prompt in previous research. And this prompt really encourages the chatbot to highlight the importance of following the advice and emphasize to users how critical it is that they take action to really motivate them to follow that advice. And in this research, we found that this prompt engineering improved answers generated by chatbots to security questions, and that with prompt engineering employed, users actually followed the advice provided by the security assistant that we introduced and actually changed their behaviors to protect themselves from potential breaches. So looking at the design of the security assistant, this was implemented as a chat-style Chrome extension, which allowed users to ask their questions and then routed those to GPT-4, where the answers were then returned. The extension was set up to only answer security-related questions, and the responses were generated via prompt engineering, using the prompt shown on the previous slide, to really enhance the motivating power of the answer by combining aspects of the protection motivation theory while also emphasizing how important it is that the user is able to understand the answer that they receive. We tested the effects of this extension and of this prompt engineering via an in situ user study. Participant recruitment was done via Prolific, and 51 total participants completed the study. These participants were split into a control group who received answers from the assistant generated with no prompt engineering, and then an experimental group whose answers were generated via prompting. All of these participants then went through 10 days of interaction with the security assistant. On every day, they were required to ask at least 2 unique security-related questions, and over the course of the study, this led to a total of 1,045 total questions across all participants. And these questions were very diverse, and they spanned a very broad range of topics. In the evenings, the users then filled out surveys to review the answers that they got during the day to indicate whether they found those answers helpful and whether they actually were motivated to take action as a result. They were also provided an alternate answer to the same question that they asked, where the alternate answer was generated for the opposite group. So a user in the control group whose answers during the day were generated without any prompt engineering would receive an alternate answer that was generated with prompt engineering, and vice versa. And overall, these were questions that were asked in context as real users were going about their everyday behavior, and they were reviewed by those same users in the evening while the context of the questions was still fresh in their mind. All the users also filled out an initial and final survey, where the initial survey asked some demographic information, and the final survey asked users to reflect on their overall experience with the assistant. To get some more detailed feedback on specific answers that the assistant provided, we also conducted final interviews with 10 participants. So looking at the results, we found that participants did perceive the security assistant to be helpful, and it was effective at motivating users to change their behaviors. So participants who were in the prompting condition found the answers significantly more helpful than those who were in the control condition. And participants were also more likely to follow the answers that were generated with prompt engineering than just the control baseline answers. At the end of the study, when we asked users whether they would like to continue to have access to a tool such as this one, we found that 25% of participants indicated that they would use the assistant a couple times a week. 31% indicated that they would use it a few times per month, showing that there was over half of participants had an interest in continuing to use this assistant going forward to some extent. When we looked at whether the assistant was able to actually motivate users to follow the advice it provided, we found that 80% of participants in the prompting condition indicated that they had or would follow the advice provided, and this was a 20% increase over the control condition. But even in the control condition, more than half of participants indicated that as a result of the answer they received, they did take some kind of action and change their behavior. And so the user testimonies in the final interviews supported these same results, where participants indicated that they found the answers helpful and that they often did take specific actions as a result of those answers. And even participants who had a background in tech and indicated they often already knew aspects of the answer indicated that having that answer and having the assistant really motivated them to take action, such as that second quote. Looking at the effects of prompt engineering on answer effectiveness, we found that the performance on all the metrics that we looked at was higher for the experimental, i.e. the prompting condition, and many of those differences were statistically significant. So out of 9 total questions asked in the evening surveys, 5 of them had statistically significantly different results for the 2 groups, and of 15 total metrics, 11 of them had statistically significant differences. When participants were asked to compare their answer to an alternate answer, they indicated that the prompt engineered answers were more helpful, and that participants also said they were more likely to follow the advice of an alternate answer if it was generated with prompt engineering. And the full results can be found in our paper. Again, the final interviews reflected this preference for prompt engineered answers, where users who were in the control condition, who received answers during the day that were generated without any prompting, indicated they really liked seeing the alternate answers because they were more in depth or went beyond just providing an answer, but also gave them reasons why they should follow the advice and really motivated them to follow the advice. So overall, humans are the weakest link in addressing cybersecurity breaches, with a majority of breaches occurring as a result of some kind of human error. And currently, while chatbots provide a potentially very valuable avenue for users to ask specific questions about cybersecurity and get advice on best practices, they still have some limitations in some dimensions of effectiveness, particularly about whether they're able to motivate users to really follow the advice. In this study, we introduced a security QA assistant, which employed prompt engineering based on the protection motivation theory, and we found that this prompt engineering improved answers, and that with the prompt engineering employed, users actually followed the advice of the assistant and really changed their behaviors, taking that critical step to protect themselves from breaches. I would like to thank the NSF through the CMU's REU program for their funding, and thank you so much. I'm happy to take any questions.
I have the first, oh, we have a question.
Hi, I'm Hazel Murray. I'm a lecturer at Munster Technological University in Ireland. I was just wondering, when people were being generated with answers, was there ever a case where one of the answers was like bad advice or something?
So, well, we didn't do like a very thorough, we just scanned through all of the answers that users were given, and just to us it looked like they were all very accurate. We didn't find any kind of false information or any kind of bad advice.
Okay.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Vinny Adibi again. I'm from Georgia Tech. My question is, in one of your slides, you talked about users taking action when the LLM explained the reasons why they should. So was it more like reasons, if you don't do this, this will happen, or if you do this, this will happen type of reasons?
Yeah, thanks, great question. So it was definitely sort of, just looking at the answers, we saw both, but I think it was more common that it was providing reasons why if you don't take the action, you're at risk, or highlighting reasons why not taking the action is risky, because that was also what we, in the prompt, encouraged the model to do.
Great. I have one last question. So I saw that the evaluation was done during the day and in the evening, right? Was there a particular reason for that study design?
Yeah, so we wanted the users to get their questions and just the baseline answers during the day while they were going about their action. And like if a question comes up while they're doing something, they could get the answer right away. And then in the evening, we compiled all the answers that they asked during the day. And then so it was at least in the same day that they asked the question, so they kind of had that context fresh in their mind while they were reviewing them. But it gave us time to sort of compile those results.
Great, thank you so much. Let's give a round of applause. And I would invite the next speaker, and the topic is, I'm 73, you can't expect me to have multiple passwords, password management concerns and solutions of Irish older adults. So Ashley and Jacob from Munster Technical University will be giving the talk.
Sorry. Hi everyone, I'm Jacob. This is my colleague Ashley. We also have Hazel Murray joining us today, our research project manager, and we represent Munster Technological University based in Cork, Ireland. We're going to talk about passwords today. We're going to discuss our paper on password management among older adults in Ireland. We're going to share our simple yet practical advice we developed and tested among our participants. So let's jump right in. Everything passwords here. Passwords and managing them is a very difficult task for various reasons. Password usage has increased over the last 5 years, but we still need to address the inconsistent advice promoted by various organizations and the resulting poor security habits. So, to address this, experts have long proposed streamlining solutions, such as password managers and enabling 2FA. However, there's a twist here. Older adults are often left out of the design process for these solutions, and not everyone is implementing standardized guidelines, right? On top of that, we have Ireland, a digitally divided country, which is further impacted by several factors such as internet disconnectivity issues, high immigration rates, and rural-urban divides, which result in a forced sense of independence, right? With that in mind, we strive to find the balance between usability and security so that we can make it easier for older adults to manage their passwords. To achieve this, we conducted a 3-stage user study, starting with interviews nationwide to address their pain points and needs when it comes to password management. In the generative phase, we combined both primary and secondary research to optimize password guidance. During focus groups, we challenged not just misconceptions from older adults, but we also challenged legacy advice promoted by various organizations such as Irish banks. Lastly, we conducted usability testing on our written advice, right, through a hypothetical scenario, in this case, changing compromised passwords. So what we did overall is we captured real-world challenges in password management, and then we honed in on the right solution. Right, so key findings from the semi-structured interviews. We started off with, we uncovered some creative storage methods, such as emailing passwords to themselves and saving passwords as contacts on their phones. 67% of the strategies we uncovered were in fact secure, such as creating Irish passwords, right, and slightly modifying them to include a number and a character. As seen in other studies, they often included personal information, such as the daughter's name, right, but again, slightly modifying them. What's uniquely Irish here, oh, sorry, I forgot about 2FA. 2FA was a mixed bag. Some were comfortable using it, while others saw it as a necessary evil. Now, here's something uniquely Irish. As a hobby, Irish older adults love to conduct ancestry research. So they go on historical indexes and even obituary websites to trace their roots. So this is a big deal for them. However, because of this, right, they were highly skeptical of knowledge-based security questions, such as, what's your mother's maiden name, right? Which exposes personal details. Now, we know that these authentication methods are weak and are being phased out, but it's an important insight into how older adults think about digital security. So, with that in mind, we built on this intuition and provided password guidance, which is easier to understand for older adults. Right, so I'll hand you over to Ashley now. Thank you.
Thank you. So now for the star of the show. So we chose the NIST guidelines as a starting point when we, in formulating our advice, and then taking into account our participants' challenges and concerns, we came up with the following guidelines, which are separated into 3 different categories. So we have password management, password creation, and password compromise. So I'm not going to read out all of the guidelines. You can go to the paper and read that in more detail. But I'm going to highlight kind of 1 or 2 from each of the categories. So for the first one here, we have writing down passwords. So many of our participants had already been practicing this habit, and they actually felt some comfort in finding out that what they had previously thought of as insecure was actually what was recommended. And then for the next one, we had saw that kind of previously recommended advice on password management, such as changing passwords regularly, was conflicting then with writing down passwords as a usable security measure. So participants were then trying to be compliant with this rule and then having to kind of continuously update their password notebook. So that's why we decided to add this to our guidelines. So for this one, for password creation advice, there was kind of curiosity about and surprise about using a sentence as a password. Initially, we had described this as a passphrase, but this was kind of met with a confusion. As some pointed out, they've never been asked for a passphrase, you know, when they're on a website. So I think that this kind of highlights the importance of language as well. Some, though, felt uncomfortable with this advice, so they they felt that they would not be able to use it as a password. So we included an example in our guidelines, which uses numbers and other specific rules that kind of most websites in general will ask. And you can also see one of our participants was quite surprised at the fact that you can use spaces as a character. I've just highlighted at the end there that we added 2FA as an optional advice, as it is, widely recommended. There was pushback with the advice, and I think that this can be resolved with education, for example, simple guidelines on how to set it up. And then finally, we have password compromise advice. So in testing out this password compromise advice, we showed our participants this warning and then asked them how would they go about changing their password using our advice. So some felt that actually that this was a scam itself. So their immediate reaction was, well, that's a scam and I wouldn't believe it. In which case, that's why we highlighted, if in doubt, go directly to the source. And then since each website would kind of have different tweaks and different ways of how they would go about changing their passwords, we went with this general set of instructions and added then, if all else fails, select the forgot my password option. And in fact, one participant said that this was the only way they knew actually how to change their password. Overall, we received a really good response to our advice. When participants rated the usefulness of the advice on a Likert scale from 1 to 5, the advice received an average score of 4.75. The study highlights a gap between official password guidelines and the real-world practices of older adults. While many follow recommended strategies, outdated advice, such as frequently changing your passwords and avoiding writing down passwords, tends to still influence their habits. We found that frustration with passwords leads to insecure practices, such as reuse and using insecure passwords, such as date of birth, or for one of our participants was using marriage dates. Yet they generally use strong passwords for important accounts. Older adults remain skeptical of password managers, but they trust features such as Google's Remember Me, which I think is to do with the fact that Remember Me is quite easy to use. We also saw that there was a disconnect around cyber attacks. As they felt that they would never be targeted. There was no reason to target them specifically. We recommended enhancing public awareness campaigns with clear research-informed security guidance. Organizations should modernize outdated passwords policies, steering away from overly complex rules and frequent resets. Promoting digital password managers and MFA through education can improve adoption and usability. And also, secure account sharing methods should be available for users, older adults who rely on others for assistance. So in conclusion, we explored how older adults handle passwords and challenges that comes with them. Contrary to common beliefs, most older adults are actually quite security conscious and often do follow best practices. Many found comfort in our suggested simple strategies such as writing down passwords, which help them feel more confident in managing their digital security. The study highlights the need for clear, practical password advice tailored to older adult-specific needs. So ultimately, a Goldilocks approach that considers both security and usability is key to helping everyone manage passwords with less frustration. So I want to thank you for listening. This is actually our cyber safety website where you can get all of our details and all the work that we're doing and what we're going to be doing in future, as well as other tools for cyber safety for older adults. Thank you for listening.
It was a great talk. So we have a couple of questions.
Thanks. It's a great talk. I'm Mohammad Lutfur Rahman from California State University, San Marcos. I live in San Diego. In your finding, you found that your real SMS considered as fake. So what is the recommendation in terms of your finding? So when you send the real SMS to the user, your account compromised. So the user thought that this is a fake, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So now what is the recommendation awareness that we can do? Because we found a similar study in our SMS phishing study.
Yeah. What is the recommendation in
Yes.
that regard? Well, we said like to kind of go straight to that we had told them in the user study, we had told them, well, this is actually a real SMS, but we kind of we were kind of seeing a lot of cases of this, as in there was just no trust in any SMS. I mean, I myself tend to not trust any of the text messages that I get, parcel deliveries and stuff. I will just, go to the source, and that to us was the kind of the best practice or the best recommended advice. Just if in doubt, go to the source and go find out yourself. That is a kind of a huge thing, I think, with the SMS. That comes up a lot, yeah.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Excellent presentation, Palmer Young, Washington, D.C. Right now I'm with the DOD. Depends on what's going on in the news. You're seeing that. Great presentation, but also I was wondering what was the ethnic background, some of the backgrounds, maybe in your paper, but the backgrounds of some of the people that you, the participants, as far as work, economic situation. What were some of the backgrounds of the people that you actually have participated in this survey?
So we mainly looked at digital literacy and tech usage among older adults. And I can surely say that 61 or 64%, even more I would say, are high-tech users among older adults. We didn't specifically look at other demographics such as age and socioeconomic status, but that's all we can say for so far.
For the interest of time, I will ask the final presenter to be at the podium. But that said, they do have a paper at TEI coming up if anybody wants to follow up. A shameless plug, I'm one of their collaborators there, so yes. That said, again, round of applause. Okay, our final presentation for the first session here is on what makes phishing simulation campaigns acceptable. Vinet's experiment, and Jasmine from German Aerospace Center is going to talk about it.
Hi, today I would like to present to you our paper. The title is What Makes Simulated Phishing Campaigns Unacceptable, and we did a vignette experiment. I want to start my presentation with an example. Here in 2020, a German hospital got attacked, which led to servers being encrypted because an employee clicked on a phishing link, and this resulted in the fact that a woman died because of a delay in her treatment. So this example shows how important phishing security measures are and how dangerous cyber attacks can be. This is why anti-phishing training is a very important measure, and companies conduct simulated phishing campaigns to prepare their employees being equipped in such a case. But these campaigns are contentious. So there's a lot of criticism and questions about their effectiveness, which is very important because they can lead to a negative outcome of the campaign, and this is why the employee acceptance plays a crucial role. We have two research questions. The first is about the acceptance of the employees of a simulated phishing campaign, and here we assumed that obtaining consent beforehand positively influences the acceptance of simulated phishing campaigns. Monetary incentive and consequences negatively influence the acceptance, and we assumed that a higher technology affinity leads to a better acceptance scoring. Then a frequent criticism of these campaigns is often that people don't agree with these campaigns and then might intentionally click on the link. So our second variable is the manipulation probability variable, and here we assumed that obtaining consent negatively influences the manipulation probability, and a monetary incentive in the phishing email as well as consequences of clicking on the phishing email positively influence the manipulation probability. Now we come to the method. We used a between subject design where the participants were put in a role play. Here they should pretend that they are case workers in a workplace setting, and they get a draft of a possible simulated phishing campaign from their employer, and they should evaluate it regarding acceptance and manipulation probability. To the procedure, so first we recruited the participants. Here the inclusion criteria was that they use technology at work from once a week to more than once a day. Then in the study, they had to give us the consent about participating. Then they had to do the role play with the vignette. And they were asked about pre-experiences with simulated phishing campaigns. If they had pre-experiences, they should describe them. And in the end, all participants had to answer questions about the technology affinity and the demographics. So the whole study took about 5 minutes for each participant. Now we come to the vignettes, how they were built. So the draft that every participant obtained was built like that. So it said that your employer contains either no consent or consent from the employees in advance. This is our first independent variable, the consent, then the monetary incentive, which said that in the next upcoming meeting that there will be important information in the link, which is in the email. So either they said that the link just leads to important information, or they also said that there will be a salary increase if they would click on a link and provide the requested information in the next meeting. We also looked at the consequences. So we said that if an employee falls for the phishing email, there would either be no consequences, or they have to do an appraisal interview with their boss, or they should take part in a phishing awareness training, or the contract will directly be terminated. So we had a 2x2x4 design with 16 different vignette combinations. So this is what a vignette looked like in the study. Here you can see that it was said that the consent was obtained, that there's a salary increase, and there would be no consequences. I just highlighted the important details for you in yellow, but in the study there were no highlights. Here are the two scales, so how acceptable they would find the draft of the simulated phishing campaign, and how if they would manipulate it, or how likely they would manipulate it. Then our sample, we recruited 793 participants. They were UK-based. The mean age was 41 years. And the ATI, so the IT affinity was around 14.62, which is slightly above average IT affinity. Now we come to the results. We calculated our ordinary last squares linear regression analysis. And here we received for the single effects the result that when the consent was given in comparison to when there was no consent beforehand, that the acceptance rating was better, significantly better, as well as for the incentive. So when there was a monetary incentive, the acceptance rating was in this case lower in comparison to when there was no monetary incentive promised in the phishing email. Then we come to the consequences. So when there was an employee interview promised, when the participant would click on the phishing link, then the acceptance rating got lower. We didn't receive any significant effect for the training. And for the contract termination, as we can see, the acceptance rating was pretty much lower when with this consequence. Regarding the IT affinity, we found out that, oh, my time is out. Okay, we found out that a higher IT affinity speaks for a better acceptance rating. We didn't find any significant effects for the manipulation probability. Then we asked them for reasons for intentionally clicking on a phishing link. They said false trust would be a reason, protest, or curiosity. Then we come to the discussion. As we saw that consent has an influence on the acceptance rating, we can say that missing consent could lead to undermining trust and that participants would not commit to security measures. as well as the monetary incentive, we can say that pretexts have an influence of the acceptance of a simulated phishing campaign. And the perception of consequences can be context dependent. We saw that the training didn't have any influence on the simulated phishing campaign, so we can say maybe the duration of the training or other factors can have an influence on the acceptance of consequences. Regarding the manipulation probability, we found out that there were no significant effects, so we can say maybe that they are context dependent, and generally it might be uncommon to manipulate a simulated phishing campaign, but this could also be because of a social desirability bias and that the participants wanted to ask the question, to respond to the questions in a more social acceptable way. Or another reason to manipulate would be maybe because of the reactance theory, so that a perceived threat could provoke negative responses. So some recommendations for those of you who want to conduct a simulated phishing campaign: please obtain consent, define general conditions, clarify the consequences of the campaign, and evaluate the appropriateness of the pretext. Here I have some key takeaways for you. So with our study, we wanted to improve the design of a simulated phishing campaign, and we looked at different factors like the constant monetary incentive and consequences, and found some good results. Thank you for your attention, and if you have questions, let me know.
Time for one question. Yes.
Thank you very much. I think the question you ask are very interesting. I have two questions. The first one, what is an acceptable phishing campaign?
Sorry, I didn't understand you.
What is an acceptable, like who is supposed to accept the simulation?
So if I understood you correctly, with our study you can more answer, so what factors negatively can influence simulated?
No, I mean, how do you define acceptable phishing campaign?
A simulated phishing campaign, sorry, I don't understand.
Acceptable. The word acceptable.
I'm so sorry. Acceptable, so acceptable would mean in this example that the employees are kind of, so the important thing about being acceptable, we define it in this case, that employees feel understood with the campaign and that they understand the reason why they conducted this whole campaign and that they would not manipulate it in this way. Thank you.
You know, there was a second part to the question, but in the interest of time and not keeping people away from lunch, I would request to ask that offline. But thank you again. Let's thank the speaker and actually all the speakers for this session.